Whoops. It's been a second. I forgot to put my video on. There we go. Hello everybody. Welcome back. Christopher Ruocchio here of Sun Eater. Good to see a bunch of familiar faces in the old chat. Zin, if you're here, I didn't do the intro just to mess with you. Anyway, no, it's good to see everybody. Today, of course, or rather not today, but we are getting very close. Because they do exist. They are here. I've got my copies of Disquiet Gods. I actually grabbed a couple more. I visited the Bane office yesterday, so I snagged a couple. But they're looking great. For those of you who are like super persnickety, they are a 1/4 inch taller. So brace yourselves. You'll notice too that they are gloss. You're actually seeing the reflection of the spreadsheet, progress spreadsheet for book 7. So let's minimize that. Don't want any titles getting AI enhanced and then. It's too late, isn't it? Anyway, but here we are. Now you just see my own reflection. How exciting. But yeah, so Disquiet Gods is here. It's looking great. For anybody who is like super curious, it is like exactly the same on the inside before you all freak out. So you know the format is exactly the same. Everybody can calm down. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. So here we are. They look great. Very happy with them. And you better be too. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear about that 1/4 inch. Anyway, but I love you guys. It's good to see everybody. Orion, Coffee, Galahad, Awesome Possum, Belemries, Doombot, Flat Mars, Swiggy D, Y on the Fall, Thomas. Everybody, welcome. Good to see you. Lisan Al Gaib. Indeed, that is me. I'm at the Fulcrum. Let's see. We're starting. Speaking of Lisan Al-Gaib, we're starting like right at the heavyweight stuff. Jeff here. Evening, Christopher. Just curious, did your opinions on Dune Part 2 change your excitement for Denny V's take on Messiah? Yes, this made me substantially more apprehensive. Like particularly my anxiety about Dune Part 2 being that they like changed the ending is specifically related to my anxiety about Messiah. I'm not so sure, so we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. I still feel pretty negatively about it. Like beyond the aesthetic experience, obviously Denis knows how to shoot a film and all of that, and I would never gainsay him. But I feel his apprehension of the source material is lacking in a lot of different ways. I'm sorry. I think the most faithful of the 3 screen adaptations is the miniseries the Sci-Fi Channel did in 2000. I just think that captures the spirit of the book best. Not the look, obviously, the budget and the presentation. The cast has never been better, but anyway, to Flat Mars's question real quick, without the jacket, it looks like this, which thinks pretty slick. It's just black though, but I like the little, my wife calls this the greeble on the spine there. So I like that. It's a nice touch. Anyway, yeah, I got in a lot of trouble for like not liking Dune 2 that much, but like I feel like his decision to like hyper focus on the Bene Gesserit left a lot of stuff like my wife has never read Dune. She like did not understand what the spice was for or what the stakes were. That being so diminished was, I think, a big mistake. I understand it's like a necessary sacrifice, and like the thing that bothered me was like people were trying to explain that like I don't know how adaptation works. Why would you think I don't know? Very, very baffling to me. Anyway, but like I liked it. Like I'll go see it again, but I'm not like I don't have like the same like super warm feelings I have about like other things. I was about to say like the Lord of the Rings films. Obviously, the Lord of the Rings films miss some parts of the books too, but like I love those in a way that I don't love these. So I'm just sorry, everybody. Like I'm just a huge bummer. I know. Yeah. Tevin says, at the beginning of your work, would you prefer get your novellas or books first? Totally get Empire of Silence first. You could theoretically read Lesser Devil first or Queen of Mid-Ashes. Queen of Mid-Ashes was written to go in a short story anthology originally. So I imagine that there are a bunch of people who may have read that first if they picked up Sword and Planet. But like for best results, as a physician might say, I'd start with Empire of Silence. And thank you for being here. I haven't read anything. It's awesome. Gerardo Hampa, gorgeous cover. Thank you. How dare I be a stream when you're watching March Madness? Well, Casey, I talked to you like 2 days ago, so you're good. But I far be it for me to like be one of the like nerds who's like, oh, sports, but like I've like never been a basketball guy, so it didn't even occur to me that I might be competing with the NBA. Because I live in a bubble of my own devising. Hey Gary, hey, good to see you too. Can I still pre-order Disquiet Gods from Quail Ridge online, have it signed before it is shipped to me? You can always do that. You can go and order Disquiet Gods at any old point. If you order a copy in July, if you order a copy next year, assuming the hardcover is still around, I will go and sign it. And if the paperbacks are out, I will sign that too. You can always order a signed book from Quail Ridge Books. Doesn't matter when. It is not related to my signing. I live 15 minutes away, and you are giving me an excuse to go to a very lovely bookstore. So, like, twist my arm. No, please, by all means. And if you want to order like the whole set, you can do that too. You want to order the old books, I'm happy to sign all of them. Just remember, if you want to personalize, to like be specific, because sometimes they get confused and you might just get the book signed and not personalized if you aren't clear to them. So just yeah, you can totally do that at any point. Let's see. Orion, I'm glad your Patreon copy got there early. Let's see. Disquiet Gods is so good. Looking forward to book 7. Thank you. Glad you liked book 6. I am doing my best. On book 7. I'm at about the 35% mark. Would I watch a show based on Michael Moorcock's Elworth books? So I have not read Moorcock. I somewhat famously do not like his attitude towards Tolkien. It makes me angry. But like, would I watch a show? Weirdly, probably. Like I've never finished the Witcher books. I played the games. Obviously, the game's great. But I never finished the books. But I've been watching. I watched the show for the first 2 seasons. Then the way they handled Blood of Elves was so execrable that I didn't watch season 3. And of course, with Henry leaving, like, what's the point? I never watched season 3 of that. But like, I'd probably give it a shot. Yeah, who knows? But I do own like the first 2 or 3 of the new reprints they've been doing. I keep getting them as gifts. The art's awesome. I mentioned before, like, I like Kira the Ungol, the band, a lot, and they use all those old Michael Wheatley pieces. So far be it for me to not like that. So I just never got into the books because his essay on Tolkien was so off-putting to me. Let's see. Books look awesome. Now that we are almost at the finish line, was Hadrian my favorite character to write for overall? Oh yeah, absolutely. I still feel weird doing like other point of views because it just feels so strange to me to be outside of his head. I did not. Chani was the big problem. Her handlement is just very sad. I also think that they like undercut. Like Denis was like, turn the dials on the Paul is manipulating the Fremen thing a little bit, I think, too hard, frankly. In the book, he's like nowhere near as cynical or as calculating, and Jessica certainly isn't. And I find those choices very I don't like them because they simplify the story of Dune too much. Paul's essential good intentions are part of his character, and they're part of the fact that like Paul is a prisoner of his vision, and he's a prisoner of the character of Muad'Dib that like really other people have made for him. And the movie makes him a lot more of an active participant in that myth escaping him, right? His like choice to be Paul Muad'Dib and not Muad'Dib, for example, is not there, right? And he chooses that to try and escape the vision. And like, I get it, it's a movie, but like these 2 movies are longer than any other adaptation we've gotten together. Like there's probably time to have handled some of these things with more nuance, I think. And I just don't like how some of this was handled. Belemir's. Miles Wachowski is certainly a little bit of an inspiration of Lorien in terms of like they're both being short and sickly. That's for sure. I love Miles. Those Bujold books just so much. A little bit of a nod there for sure. Is Disquiet Gods the last book in the Sun Eater series? No, there's one more. Title should be announced probably in like the next month and a half when the Diamond editions of book 1 go out. Which, by the way, I got a confirmation they should be finished printing I think April 12th, Steve said, so mid-April. And then we will hopefully be able to get those out before the end of April or so. That's my hope, so we can still get the Diamond Editions book 2 out in May, or not out, but on sale in May, which is what Steve and I are targeting. Maybe it'll be June, but yeah, no, there's one more book, book 7. Like I said, I've written about 35% of it. I am in chapter 27, I think, of about 75. So things are moving along. Let's see. Long Sun Mel Rubies. Do I think that Ryan Cahill named his main character Callan and his bad guys the Lorien Empire as meta commentary on something? No, he certainly did not. I've been speaking to Ryan. We've been hanging, not hanging out, but talking the last few weeks, mostly by email, because I was on a stream with him on Mike's Book Reviews, and we've just been talking since. And he hasn't read my stuff yet. He got Empire of Silence. I sent him a copy. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, no, he's certainly not. But he's a cool dude. Let's see. Non-authors critical of an author's interpretation of an adaptation. Well, it's not even like the author thing, right? Really, it's just that, like, I very obviously like I do this. I guess it is an author thing, right? But it's not like I think I'm like better than other people because I'm an author. It's just like this is like literally my job, right? Like I work with story for a living, and I particularly have like probably thought about Dune like more than like 99.99997% of people alive. It's like obviously pretty important to me, so it's just sort of frustrating. Yeah, I do think broadly that like his Denis being Quebecois has something to do with this. The like bifurcation of Fremen culture, I think, sort of waters down the impact of the Bene Gesserit sort of power as manipulators, which I find troubling. But there's just like a lot of little things like that. I love all of the like design, just and the care and attention to like ships and suits and costumes and all that. I wish the sets got a little bit more attention. This is something I said about the first movie. The like all the technology and stuff got so much wonderful attention. We like don't have a really good sense of like Arakeen as a place still. I find that very disappointing, things like that. But yeah, I don't know. It mostly is not. It's not my Dune, right? Like it's it's Denis, obviously, and he has a very different sense of what those books are, and that's fine. I don't need it to be mine. I have my own thing, but I was a little bit let down on balance, which I get is like a common theme with book readers. Now let's see, we have a super chat here. Zeppelin for 999. Thank you, sir. Just wanted to say Dregs of Empire, 1, absolutely ruined my sleep schedule. Stayed up till 4 a.m. finishing it. And 2, weirdly enough, it's a book that solidified Sun Eater as my favorite series ever, full stop. Well, gosh, thank you. I was like super nervous about Dregs because it is, in a lot of ways, I think maybe more of a bummer than like Kingdoms of Death is. I think maybe because it's Florian, maybe just because it's human beings being so terrible the whole time. But I was pretty nervous about it because when I outlined it, I didn't realize how much of a bummer it was. I thought it was going to be a lot more like heroism and adversity, and it's just kind of like it's kind of just ugly. But I'm really glad that people like pretty much love it, which is great. It was very reassuring. So yeah, no, thank you for the super chat. Oh, that was a joke. Long Sun Mel Rubies. Look, it's the internet. I'm going to assume everybody's being serious, even if it makes me look like a fool. Let's see. Tiagan says, what visual style would my dream Sun Eater adaptation be like? I want Mamoru Oshii to direct an anime with the sort of visual style of his Ghost of the Shell from like 95. So like sort of like high-end anime, like 95 to 2000, like that's sort of the aesthetic that I would like. My heart is with animation because I feel like if it were just another limited series pumped up onto Netflix or something, it would just get lost in the noise. I think that if it were animated, it would be more bespoke and would actually have a better chance, I think, of finding not as large an audience, but as it might have with like a film or something like that. But finding a sincere audience and a serious audience. I would rather have. I would rather be. To make like an analogy, I would rather be the absolute monarch of like a little island than like a like baron in Russia or something, like if that makes sense. I would rather be a big fish in a small pond than a small fish in the ocean. So, let's see. Charles asks, will Tales of the Sun Eater be coming to audiobook? Yes, but the plan with that, and I know this is like this has been perennially confusing, so I probably didn't do a very good job with this. But the plan was to release these little ebooks as ebook only little like short reads, and then to do an omnibus of all of the stories after book 7 is out, so that when there is a hardcover or a trade paperback or whatever, and it'll probably be both because we'll probably do the omnibus as like a Kickstarter probably. It'll be special. That way you don't have to like buy the same stories again. Like if you buy them digitally, sure, but like they're the ebooks that way could be cheap. When we do the omnibus around that time, there'll be the audio version, because after we do the print stuff by Kickstarter, I'll probably put it up print on demand or something, and for people who like missed the campaign, and then the audiobook will come out after the campaign, I would think. I don't have 100%. I haven't like locked down exactly what the plan is, but yes, they will be available in audio at some point in the next, let's say, 2 years, because I need to finish book 7 before I wrap up all the stories and make that first volume of stories. There'll probably be a second volume of stories later, because all the special editions are getting new stories in the back. So like the Diamond editions have new stories. The Anderida books versions of the books have new stories. By the time I'm done with that, I'll have enough for a second book. So there'll probably be 2 volumes of Sun Eater short stories. At least for now. Obviously, I don't plan to leave the universe. So as I'm writing standalone novels, I'll probably keep writing short stories. So there could be theoretically as many Tales of the Sun Eater volumes as I have life in me. So we'll see. Because I don't plan on leaving the galaxy. Well, the galaxy maybe, but the universe, well, also maybe. We'll see. Ryan, are there any plans to have some of the novellas on Nook? I always buy the hard copy main books, but my book space is limited. Yeah, I would love to diversify the novellas presence onto other platforms. It's just one of those things that, like, I laughed. Someone said to like thank my team in a comment a couple of days ago, I think it was. I sent it to my wife and I was like, thanks team, because it's like just us, right? And so getting things onto other platforms is something that my wife or I need to find time to do. And we have a 10-month-old, and I'm barely like, if I finish if I finish just writing the book 7 stuff I need to write in any given day, I'm having a good day right now. It's been pretty tough to keep up with everything, but this is definitely a thing that I want to fix. I just don't have a timeline on when I'll be able to fix it. Because it requires some attention. I have to do some research to figure out each of those platforms and get stuff uploaded and all that stuff. Kenny, I cannot answer that question because it is a spoiler for book 6, and probably most people watching this haven't seen book 6 yet, so I'm not even going to read it out loud. But I would encourage you, if you have not joined the Discord, to go in there and talk to folks that might be able to give you some thoughts about that. But I will say only there's like a lot more at stake in any war than like which side wins, right? Let's just say that there's a lot more than any of that, right? And I'll say that much for now. Will I ever write another 5-book series after Sun Eater? Yes, probably at some point, but not immediately. There is. Speaking of a lot more being at stake in a war than who wins, there is a sequel series in this universe relatively close to the events of this series that I would like to write at some point. Will I write that soon? No, I almost hesitate to mention it because people will be expecting me to turn right around and jump into it. It is not next. It's the sort of thing that like you do. this is the sort of thing you do when like you need to snap people's attention back a little bit. But I'm pretty excited about it. Actually, it would be bigger in sort of scope in a lot of ways. So I think that would be fun. Are any of the short stories I'm writing right now similar to Parable on Iron and Tales 3? Love that one. I'm really glad you did, because that one was like super out there. That and Reincarnation both were like pretty experimental. Not at the moment. I did write one that was kind of like Pits of Emesh, so that one was like kind of out there in its own way. That's going to go in the back of the Murdered Son, which is coming out just from Enderita Books as a limited edition. But that story will show up in a couple places, not least of which probably on Patreon. So it'll show up there. Tevin, got a novella of my own in the works. Awesome. Just finished the second draft. Congratulations. You've gotten farther than most people who begin. So well done. That's awesome. Congratulations. Hype for Disquiet Gods. Pre-ordered and everything. I finished Dregs like 5 minutes ago, and coincidentally the stream came on. Perfect timing. Glad you are here. Yeah, I don't like that they like made the frame like they made Silgar kind of silly. Like the memes are great, but like they come with some pain. So I just yeah. Question: is your Empire of Silence cover one of your short stories on the Gladiator-like setting? So you're talking about like the purple one, like the US cover. So that one was a little bit more of a of a loose interpretation of everything. We were going to just do Hadrian as like a gladiator, but with the marketing people wanted to have something that was more representative of like the whole series, something that was almost in a sense more abstract. So they put a helmet on him, and now it could be basically anybody instead of Hadrian. And I love the piece. Sam Weber is a genius. But it is less directly representative of any individual character really than any of the other ones. That said, I love what Sam did with the armor, like the greaves and stuff. Super cool. I actually own the original. It's downstairs in my hallway. I keep promising my wife I'll move it out of the normal part of the house and up here, but one of these days. If I guess the title for book 7, would I confirm it? No, I will say yes to anything that you guess, or I'll say no to anything you guess. I haven't decided if I'll say yes or no, but I will not. I will not tell you guys right now. I've seen some people guess correctly. I've seen some people guess wrong. I've even seen a title that like I wish I could have used somewhere, but and may at some point. Yeah. But you'll know soon. Just another one of those things. Let's see. Salesman 6-finger hand. They have an extra finger, not another thumb. This actually came up. I was talking to John Barry Ballaran about art for the Queen Made Ashes cover, and he wanted to do the opposite thumb, like he wanted it like this. Oh man, I just had high school flashbacks. The turtle. Anyway, or was that middle school? Lord, I don't know. But I actually read once because the one of the aliens in Halo has an opposite thumb like that. I think it's the elites, and some like orthopedist was like, this is actually like not that helpful. It's probably more helpful in grasping things to just have another finger, have a wider hand. And so I knew I wanted to do 6 fingers for. There's a lot of number symbolism in the books, and which I will not elaborate on. So I just decided to go for a normal extra finger. Now the fingers do have extra joints, extra knuckle, but that's it really. Have a decided title for book 7? If so, is something you've known for a long time? Yeah, I've known for a while now, for sure. Let's see. Does Hadrian not consume any caffeine, like at all? Probably not. No, he does. He does not like coffee or tea, really. So probably not. He's on downers all the time, man. He's drinking fancy wine. Yeah, no. Palatines do take stimulants, though. I mean, there's a lot of coffee drinking. There's a lot of tea as well. But there's also like Bailey Mataro is on Verox, which is a stimulant. It's a fictional one. But yeah. Did I change the course of the story when you came back to the Catholic faith? The themes have definitely grown stronger over the series. Yes and no. Like the sort of main story hasn't really changed. Um, some of the interpretations of the events have shifted a little bit. The big thing, though, was that when I wrote the first draft, I was still in my hardcore like Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens phase. And so the Chantry was just another science fiction, like cheap Catholic takedown that like they always do, right? I love Stargate, but like the Ori are silly, right? Although they're also awesome, but I digress. I weirdly like those last couple seasons. But it's hard to argue with Claudia Black and Ben Browder. So anyway, but I realized how sort of juvenile that was um, in the editing process on book one, and I had this sort of problem because I couldn't like throw the book away because I'd sold it, but I was like not the same person who wrote it anymore, and so I had to figure out how to do that. And writing Lesser Devil was in a lot of ways an attempt to sort of grapple with the sort of distance between the me who wrote the first draft and the me who wrote the second draft of book one. And I think it was broadly useful because there's sort of a weird because like that was like a really like difficult year for me personally for reasons not really worth getting into, but I think the distance between like what was that 2015 like say 2014 me and 2015 me or 2016 me was enough to really sort of simulate the distance between character Hadrian and narrator Hadrian. And I think that was really useful early on and has sort of helped set up that sort of fifth dimensional distance between the two Hadrians in the or fourth dimensional distance between me and between the two Hadrians, if that makes sense. Cannot wait for the Anderida book set. Yeah, it's looking awesome. Kieran's been sending me updates almost every day. He's working on the cover, and it's so cool. It's I think my favorite Kieran piece so far. I'm really really excited to do the rest of the books because like as fun as it's been to do like two versions of Empire of Silence right now with the Diamond Edition, the Anderida ones. I like just kind of want to get to the later books because those are more fun. They're more interesting. They're like more visually interesting in terms of like the places we go and the things we do. Empire of Silence is supposed to lull you into a false sense of security before I start messing with you all. So, yeah, I'm very excited. But yeah, no, the new Empire of Silence cover for the Anderida Books edition is very awesome. Yeah, whoop, my mouse is dead, so I can't. Here we go. It wasn't dead; it was merely napping. Ty asks, any future plans for Hector Oliva? Yes, I'll just say that. I don't know exactly what form they will take or when. So, but yes, I would like to go back. Let's see. After Sun Eater, will the universe still be known as Sun Eater, assuming you make stories more independent from the series? Yeah, no, we'll call the universe that. There are a lot of Star Wars that don't involve wars, so that's okay. It'll be fine. And Hadrian's impact is pretty nuclear, so that's all right. What was my favorite Sun Eater story, be it tale, novella, or book to write? In a similar vein, were there any that had you a lot of trouble you didn't enjoy writing? Yeah, I either like inside me, there are two wolves. One of them really enjoys writing something, and the other one hates it. Like at the same time, like it just or not at the same time, but like it just depends on like what mode gets engaged. Sometimes the story goes really really well, and I'm just like totally there and present the whole time. And then other times it fights me like every single day. Disquiet Gods was a nightmare. It was the hardest of the books to write, and it wasn't even close. Like book 7 has been significantly easier so far. I don't know if that's just because like it's had it's had like a more grounded start. It's like been less bizarre as quickly. But yeah, no. As far as ones that have been like really pleasant, Howling Dark was really pleasant. The one that I like come back to because I wrote it like in one sitting, right? Is Knowledge, which is like a 5-page short story. It's in Tales 2. I just love that story. It's like very short. You can read it like in 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. It's super short. But it just sort of all came it just all sort of came together at once. And so I was able to see the whole story like from above at one time, and I didn't have to break it down into pieces or write it over the course of 9 months or anything like that. It was just a really it was a nice little afternoon, you know. And I think it's neat. So like if you haven't read that story, I'm like really proud of it, for as short as it is. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, good old Gankutsuo. I was reading the Discord server on my wife's phone because I logged out, right, and I saw you guys talking about good old anime Count of Monte Cristo in space. Good stuff. Yeah. Gerardo, what are the diamond editions? All books will have them. Yeah, so the diamond editions are leather bounds or faux leather bounds. Really, they're not. No cows were harmed in the formation of the diamond editions, for financial reasons. But anyway, they're collector's editions we've been printing. Diamond Editions is a specialty publisher like Subterranean Press that my friend Steve Diamond set up, and he'd previously worked at a couple other places, similar little publishers. So this is like his joint, and we're doing Empire of Silence. We did a Kickstarter last year and sold out. We had a limit. My regular publisher gave us 1,000 copies to print. We were allowed to print 1,000. So those are all sold, unfortunately. But yeah, all 7 of them, and we'll probably also be Steve and I will be the ones producing like the omnibus of the short stories. So those will match the diamond editions and stuff like that. But yeah, they are unfortunately sold out at the moment. One of the like top 10 questions I get is, hey, I know it says they're all sold out, but can I still get one? And I'm really sorry, but we don't have any more to give. I would love to sell more. Yeah, no. But there is a second collector's edition that's coming from Anderida Books, Anderida Books, in the UK. If you want to check out their website, they aren't on sale yet, but they're going to do those. They did my if you see behind me, whoops, I'm very bad at this. These ones here, they did the special editions of my novellas, and they're going to reprint those too. There'll be 250 more copies of each of the novellas sold as a box set here in the next couple of months. They were supposed to be out already, but there were some printing delays. We had some serious problems getting the Dregs of Empire special edition out. I think like 300 copies like got botched at the printer and had to be redone completely. It was a whole thing. Have I ever had visions of a career change? Lots of people want to be a full-time writer. Any chance you dream of accounting? Accounting, no. But I sometimes want to go back to working in a restaurant. It's people are less frequently snide about you on the internet. No, I'm just kidding. But I do sometimes want to go back to the restaurant. I love cooking, and I love working in a restaurant. I like working like with people actually, like in a like high stress, like high focus environment. Like it was really fun. Every time people hear me say this who know better will remind me that I like complained about it all the time. But like I complain kind of period. It's like breathing for me. So that doesn't mean anything. We need a surprise third alien race contender for some to come challenge humanity once the Sail Center are gone. You never know. You never know. In the current Sun Eater era, are there any factions interested in exploring outside the Milky Way? Yeah, but I mean, to get to the clouds, you could maybe do that in a reasonable amount of time. But like getting to Andromeda or something with the kinds of speeds that ships are capable of in universe would take a very long time. It would be sort of a generation arc proposition to do intergalactic travel, and you have to remember that the galaxy isn't fully settled or explored either. I'm frequently frustrated by the tendency of science fiction writers to treat entire galaxies as like the equivalent of a planet. It's like, oh, China's over here. Like the galaxy is so like mind-bogglingly huge that like you don't really need to go to other galaxies really. I was always baffled by like the Andromeda spin-off of Mass Effect. I was like, we have a galaxy, we're fine. I know the reason is so that they don't have to address the Reaper question, but no thanks. Please address it, actually. Anyway. Yeah. Have I ever considered putting together an art book to the series? There's so much fascinating lore in the series. I would be an endless goldmine for it. Yeah, eventually. There's like a lot more art to come, right? So maybe down the road when we have all this art that we're planning on doing for all of these special versions, maybe the end of the end of all this stuff. More love for Dregs. Thank you, Kellen. Love for Demon White. Thank you so much. Just started reading New Jedi Order, and I'm wondering how much of the Yuuzhan Vong are in the Cielson. It's funny you mentioned that because I read Vector Prime, and that's it. I did not like it. The Yuuzhan Vong did not feel like they belonged in Star Wars to me, and I like never thought about them again. But I can see why you would ask that question. So like consciously none, but it's certainly not impossible. Can I read the series without reading the novels? No. But you could read the supplemental material and not read the novels. But you could go pick up if you want to not read a novel and you want to read something. I would read Queen Amid Ashes. That's written from Hadrian's point of view. It's relatively short. I think it's pretty awesome. I'm very, very pleased with that novella. And the new version of it, it'll be out in print on demand hardcover and paperback, and the ebook will get a facelift here in the next couple weeks. At this point, I'll probably wait till after Disquiet Gods. But I have the new cover. We've got it all designed and more or less finalized. I just need to get the files from Jenna. She needs to trim the edges for the paperback because the margins are bigger on the hardcovers. But that's tedious stuff that you probably need to know. But if this was just a troll, then like obviously no, you can't read the books without reading the books. Well played, sir. But no. Having sincerely answered the question, I would, if you don't want to read one of the novels, I'd read Queen Amid Ashes. What is my favorite alien race in other sci-fi settings? That's a really good question. I don't know off the top of my head. I used to really like the Cybermen when I was like a Doctor Who guy. It's like a pretty bog standard answer, but like I like the old ones where they still have like human hands, and like you can still tell they're like breathing through the mask. Like they're really creepy. But you like if you watch like Tomb of the Cybermen or something, that stuff's great. But yeah, that's not really a super satisfying answer. It's just the first one that comes to mind. I like I like the great old ones in Lovecraft. They're not really a species precisely, but I like Lovecraft a lot. Yeah, I don't know. It's really it's weird. You'd think I'd have a better answer for that off the top of my head, but yeah, I don't know. We'll go with Cybermen for now. I just think they're I love the old voice modulator too, like from the '60s, the original ones. It's just so neat. They're so like goofy at the same time, but like I went pretty deep on the Big Finish audio productions, and they're so terrifying when you can't see the like vacuum hoses and stuff. Conceptually, just so great. Ooh. Let's see. How did I get on the pre-order list for Disquiet Gods? Oh, I know a guy. For my next series, will I write in first person? I probably not. Actually, I probably will mix it up for a little bit. Next thing will not be first person for sure though. I need to get some space. Any set date for the Anderida Empire of Silence reveal and release? I'd love to get my hands on it in time for a read. I saw short stories will be another 2-3 months. Yeah, so the short stories are still going to be first because to get on the list for Empire of Silence. Okay, this is like very convoluted, but like when you do these special editions, right, and they're numbered, you want to like let people who bought numbers get dibs at the matching number. So if you've been buying from Enderita Books, you know we've been doing 500 copy runs of the novella collection so far. So if you're one of those 500, you're good. Your spot's held. In probably like the middle of summer, later summer, we'll do the Murdered Sun, which is the original draft version of Empire of Silence, sort of as a like Unfinished Tales, Road to Dune kind of thing, right? If you ever read Road to Dune, it's like the rough draft manuscript version of Dune, right? So it's sort of like that. And then there'll be 750 of those. So to get one of those 250 extra spots, because the 500 are for people who are already buying in, right? You need to buy. They'll put out a set of all 3 novellas for a second printing. So you can, if you miss The Lesser Devil, Queen of Ashes, Dregs of Empire, and other stories, you'll be able to buy them. And if you buy that set, you will you'll be on the list to get Murdered Sun. And if you get Murdered Sun, you'll get Empire of Silence. So the plan, I believe, is for those reprints to go on sale in like the next month or two. It was supposed to have happened already, but we're running a little behind. And then Murdered Sun will hit July, August, maybe ish, and then Empire of Silence will hit around the end of the year, November ish, maybe. And if it's not November, it'll be January because we'll just wait till after Christmas. So that's the plan. But to get on the list, you need to get that box. I shouldn't say box set because I don't know if they have the slipcases or not. But you need to get the set of the 3 novellas when those go on sale here in the next month or two. That'll get your ticket, basically. I know 750 copies is not a lot. I personally, we could maybe move more than that. They're open to maybe doing a second printing if the first one goes well. But I fully expect it'll go fine. But that's the way to go. So if you're already on there, great. I would ask people to examine their conscience if they already have the diamond editions. If you really want both, totally cool. But I know that there are people who like really want these, and this is the best I can do right now is make more special editions, and hopefully we can get a second printing on either one of them, or something else will happen. But for right now, this is kind of like all I can do to make new hardcovers. And I know it's not perfect, but it's sort of all I got. Have I sent out the diamond editions? No, they're still at the printer. I talked to Steve this morning. I mentioned earlier, the printer finally gave us a date, and that date is April 12th. We should have all the books, or rather the books should be finished and on their way to me. So hopefully by the end of April, they will all be on their way out. If you have a change of address or anything like that, change your address on your Kickstarter account. And then please do send me a message too, just to be redundant, because Steve is keeping a master list off of Kickstarter separate to their records, just to make sure we catch anything like that. But yeah, no, sorry they're taking so long. The other part of the delay, not only are we using the same printer that Brandon Sanderson is using for his big, like, is it Rhythms of War, or is it, I don't remember which book it is he's doing. Words of Radiance, sorry, the titles all, I haven't read them, so they don't stick. Words of Radiance Kickstarter thing where he's printing like hundreds of thousands of copies or whatever. We're using the same printer because Steve is the guy who introduced Dragonsteel to the printer, but we're also using the same paper. And so Brandon ate all the paper, and we were waiting for more paper to exist. So that's what has taken so long. Hopefully this problem will not recur. Practically speaking, it might at some point with later books, but hopefully we'll be able to move. We're a leaner operation. We can maybe move a little faster. Yash asking, is there something going on with me and the broken binding? No. No, I saw that tweet, but we haven't spoken. I haven't spoken to, is his name Matt? So I don't know. If something's going on, it is my agent, and I have no clue. So I do not know. The Awesome Possum, does Alexander have any redeeming qualities, or is he being negatively colored through Hadrian's writing? I don't see why we're willing to drag him around. Excellent question. Excellent question. You'll see. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, Samuel, how are secret projects going? Which has been the more time intensive? I see what you did there. They're going very well. One of them I'm effectively sort of done with in any like serious intensive way. The other one I haven't really it has not time for me to do anything with yet. So and depending on how you count, there's like a third one that's done. That's like pretty small though. So but yeah, no. As far as which is going to be the more time intensive, the second one. But that's all I'm gonna say. Will there be hardbacks for the rest of the books, as in book 6 and 7? Yes, there will be. As far as going back in time and reprinting the other ones, who knows? Have I watched The Bear? I have not, but I've been told I really should. But yeah, it's a difficult business, but I don't know. Stress is good for me. I really enjoyed waiting tables, and like romantically now looking back, I really enjoyed it. But I did that for 7 years. That's how I got through high school and college. Will there be an epilogue in book 7? Well, you'll have to wait and see. How are people reading Disquiet Gods? I thought it wasn't out yet. It's not, but my new publisher, Baen Books, is special in that they sell their advanced reading copies, like the ones they give to critics, the ebook version, on their website, sort of like an early access program. So if you go to Baen.com right now, you can look up the Disquiet. If you Google Disquiet Gods, EARC, EARC, it should be the first thing that pops up. I may actually have a link in the description. I can never remember. I can't see the descriptions when I'm in the streaming service because I'm not on YouTube right now. Actually, it's just streaming to YouTube. I think it might be there. If it's not, just Google Disquiet Gods EARC. You can pick it up. The EARC is 15, so it's a little bit more expensive than a regular ebook. But yeah, no. So you can read it now. You can read it in its entirety, and it's basically final. There might be a couple like typographic error changes, but it's not going to be any different than the book that you're going to read. So you can read it now. And actually, if you do that, selfishly, I will say, I actually get more for the EARC than I do for a hardcover. So if you want to help me out, help my publisher out, actually, because they get the retailer fee too. They don't, they aren't just getting a kickback from Amazon or whatever. It's like the best thing anybody can do to support a book from Baen Books is buy the EARC in early access. Let's see. Is the character will be on the cover of book 7 a new character? No. It's Hadrian. Benjamin asks, says he's making Sun Eater movie posters on Midjourney. If I were going to cast a film or TV series, who would I cast? So for Hadrian, I've always said Harry Lloyd, who was Viserys in Game of Thrones. He's got the like asymmetrical smile thing going on, and he's got the aristocratic sort of thing. He's great. And Valka in my head is ironically her name's Bernice Marlowe, who's she was Severin in Skyfall, the Javier Bardem's mall that he kills halfway through the movie. But as far as like the rest of the cast, I don't really know. I used to be super like into casting things, like when I was watching TV like 20 TV shows at a time. But I don't really I don't do that anymore. Of course, if ever anything gets made, they're not going to ask me. So, let's see. Disquiet Gods is the top 3 Sun Eater for sure. Well, awesome. I'm hoping for top 1. That's what I want. I want book 7 to be number 1 and Disquiet Gods to be number 2 in the popular consciousness when I'm done. That's the goal. I'm watching Shogun, not yet. I just haven't had a lot of time since it came out. Things have been pretty tight around here with Kid and all. But when it's done, I'm definitely. I love the book. I love the original series too. So would love to do that. So. Hive Tyrant, yes, and yes, to both questions. Callum, caught you live. Howdy to you too. Glad you can make it. How do orcs in Lord of the Rings breed/spawn? Excellent question. I don't actually know the answer to it off the top of my head, and I wouldn't tell you if I did. Will I be making posters for the Diamond Mission Howling Dark? That's a really good question. So with the later Diamond editions, we're gonna move off of Kickstarter because Kickstarter can't guarantee copy matching. And like I said, when you do a limited series, you should match so the previous buyers get a chance to buy them. Steve and I have not decided what we're gonna do about supplemental material. It may be that if we do posters, we sell them through Diamond editions. We might also just sell them through my website. They might be unrelated, but like, should posters of the new cover art exist? The answer is like totally yes. But yeah. I have heard of Children's Time, but I've never read any Tchaikovsky. I like said this. I can't remember if it was when I was talking to Genghis Khan or to Casey. Like I don't read a lot of science fiction anymore. Like I read stuff that I've like already read. But it's you know, I would rather write than read, given like the options, and like time is kind of hard right now. But I also I don't want to like run into an idea that I've had somewhere else. So I would rather it be the case of people like, oh, did you like get this idea from X? I can say I've never read that. And I don't know what that is. So I like read a lot of other stuff instead. I read mostly nonfiction these days. Am I excited to be done with the series? Relieved it's over. Sense of pride after completing it. Mostly I think I will feel relief, assuming everybody likes it. That's going to be the determining factor. But I am ready to have it behind me, because this takes up a lot of like processing power, as you might imagine. And it being, my hope is that having it done, it will feel like dropping the ring on the mat at bag end and walking away. And then I will feel a degree of peace. Me being me, I suspect I probably will never feel that, but I'm hoping that it will be nice to be done. So, what are some underused tropes in sci-fi fantasy that you would like to see more of? I don't know about like underused tropes, but I would I will very meanly say that I just wish that that fantasy would like actually like build itself into the history and mythology it's like aping better. I wish that fantasy writers would like actually learn more about history and culture, and of the various medieval cultures they're usually basing their work on. You know, people always say like, "Oh, I'm so tired of European settings." I haven't seen European setting in fantasy in a long time. I've seen a lot of fantasy settings, but I haven't seen a European one in a long time. You know, something like Vance's Leoness or something that like really feels medieval properly. I think that would be nice. But yeah, I don't know. And especially in fantasy, like there are things I'd like to see less of. I would like to see less like evil, cynical religions, just to tie back to an earlier thread in the conversation. Like people didn't think that way at the time, and so to have people thinking that way in the books is very anachronistic and tedious. Does Crispin know Hadrian is the half mortal? Has that news reached his part of the galaxy? Yeah. Oh yeah, he knows. They are okay. Look, the orcs are totally elves, originally corrupted by Morgoth. It's before Thangorodrim. It's in Tumno or however it's said. I can't remember where it originally starts to happen. Sauron continues the process, but as far as what the mechanics of that process are, you know, I don't have any. I don't know that we've ever given deeply specific details on that information. Tolkien was not the sort of writer to really dwell on things that were that horrible. Will we ever see Crispin again with Hadrian? This is a popular question that I couldn't possibly. Like I said, three. I thought we would like know about the first one publicly by now, but it's gonna take a little bit longer than we thought. So, do I think a dragon would have followed Sauron and Morgoth? Sauron and Lord of the Rings, and not Morgoth, like because he's like not as like Sauron's not he's not Morgoth, right? I mean the fear, right, that Gandalf has in the quest for Erebor, which is like the Lord of the Rings scale rewrite of The Hobbit that Tolkien started and abandoned is that Sauron would recruit Smaug, right? And so Smaug needs to be dealt with. So I think Tolkien thought yes, and Gandalf thought yes. So I would think so. I want to read Ryan's book. So I know I said I don't read a lot of this stuff anymore, but there are times when, like, because of like a personal connection or something, like, or I'm asked to do a blurb or something. Like I just read The Failures by Benjamin Lyer, which has come out in July. This Daw asked me to do a blurb. Actually, Ben asked Daw to ask me to do a blurb. So that was very touching. And it was awesome. You guys should totally go read that if you like Sun Eater, like if you like the science fantasy thing. Failures is pretty great. But yeah, no, I want to read Ryan's book. It's just a question of when. It's like giant fantasy books, man. That's like the hardest thing to get into these days. My time being the way it is. I have not. Like I've been trying to replay Elden Ring with one of my friends, and I haven't played in 2 weeks. And if that gives you a sense of how hard it is for me to get through anything these days, because I will work until my daughter wakes up. I'll work when she goes back to sleep for a nap, and then I'll work after she goes to bed for the night. I am here after all, right? So just getting book 7 done is like kind of all that matters. As far as like my time is concerned, outside of course caring for my family, like those are the things. So what are the top new fantasy or sci-fi series in my TBR after you finish Sun Eater? There are some like Guy Gavriel K books that I want to go back and catch up on. And I'm like 4 books I think of his behind. I love Guy Gavriel K. I think he's awesome. There's some Tim Powers books likewise that I need to catch up on. There's actually a lot of Powers' back catalog I haven't read as well. And I'm gonna probably read a crack into another Gene Wolfe series. I've decided if I'll do Wizard Knight or Soldier of the Mist, but you get to those. Those aren't new, of course. So I missed a word in your sentence, but there are a few Guy Gavriel K books from the last couple of years. That's sort of the big thing for me. Absolutely adore his writing. Yeah, no, Belemmer Seagand is awesome. I love that one. It's the like sort of more like murder mystery Borkowskin books are always fun. There are a couple more of them, and I think Seagand is my favorite of them. So, link to the e-arc is in the description. Thank you, Brent. I knew I was I knew I would save myself. Does book 7 so far have a hard to write chapter that gives you a headache? There was one that was like not nearly as bad. But as like the ones in book 6, but it was still hard. I think I'm gonna have to go back and give it another crack later. But I think it was hard because I hadn't like quite actually figured out what it was for, which is yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Jasper, I'm not sure, like chronologically, like what the last well-made European fantasy setting was, because like there are things I haven't read, right? Like I know that like John Gwynne is like really, like deeply invested in getting like the sort of historical niceties right in a lot of ways, but I haven't read Gwynne, so like I don't know that I'm like really equipped to like answer that question, because there are a couple things that I want to read. But I don't know like when I'm going to read them. But like I just always hate when people whine about there being too many European fantasies. It's it just bothers me because like don't read them. Not hard. But like a lot of like the sort of main stuff just feels like a lot of it just feels like we've like based fantasy settings on fantasy settings on fantasy settings, and like gotten away from sort of looking at the primary sources and trying to do what Tolkien did. And like maybe we don't have to do what Tolkien did, but like that's sort of like what I honestly I think if I wrote fantasy, it would probably be more Guy K-esque than Tolkien-esque, maybe. Maybe I don't know. In terms of like me doing fantasy, I have like a lot of like very loose, vague ideas. But I don't know when I'll do that. or what exactly I will do. Do I have a lore journal for Sun Eater? No. I have a bunch of very disorganized notes and my memory. This is one of the reasons I said it'll be a relief to be done. I have not read Dragon Bone Chair. One of these days. One of these days. Who'd win, 30 Umand or 1 Cielson? The Umand. They are mean, man. In case you've forgotten. Wow, I reached the bottom of the chat by the first hour. That's unusual these days. Levi, do I stay away from reading current sci-fi since you were deep in it? Or do you read some? I stay away from it, like I was saying. I don't think I've read a science fiction book. So I with the one exception, I've been sort of noodling my way slowly through House of Suns because I like Alistair Reynolds so much. I hadn't read House of Suns. I'm kind of regretting it because the whole Shatterling thing feels very Karn Sagara, and now people will be like, "Did you get this from House of Suns?" And the answer is no, I did not. I did not. But yeah, no, I mostly don't read science fiction anymore because I'm like tired of people asking me where my ideas are from. Like I've always told you, like it, but yeah, I'm liking House of Suns. It's super neat. I will say this: I like writers that I'm not like, and Reynolds with his like hard science background, right? Like he worked for the ESA, is like very different than me, and he's able to like a lot of the like tech ideas he has is stuff that like it just wouldn't occur to me because like I don't have the actual hard science grounding. And so I just like constantly in awe of him. I love Revelation Space, as I think anybody who you know like will have read Sun Eater knows. It's like a very obvious reference to Yellowstone and stuff in the books, just because I love that. I love that series. But like it gets a little bit vexing when that's like the whole conversation, and it's like I like how much more about Dune, like how much more about Dune can I pull out of my hat? Well, apparently like 2 hours of not liking the new movie very much, but yeah, no, it's like always a very disappointing answer that like I just don't read that much anymore, and a lot of it's just time, but like a large part of it too is that like I worked for a publisher for also 7 years. It's weird, his career seems to have gone in 7-year waves, but hopefully that's not prophecy in this case. But when I was there, I was mostly doing marketing, so I was like not reading whole books. I was reading like enough to like do the copy or to like write ads and like know what to do. So I like never finished the whole book, and it kind of like detrained me from reading in a lot of ways. So Karn Saga is one of those interesting characters I've ever read. Well, thank you, Wildfall. I won't say I'm a big Karn fan because he sucks, but he is something. What is my birth date? That's a secret. But thank you for asking. Yeah. Anyway, Richard Wants Tyranny of Faith, book 2. Yeah, cool. I've seen the covers; they look neat. Title makes me nervous for thematic reasons we've been discussing. But what is my favorite GGK book? I love Sailing to Serantium, and I would like strongly endorse anybody who wants to read and start there. It's part of a two for the second one's Lord of Emperors, so it's not like super long. But it's set in a fantasy version of Justinian's Constantinople, so like early Byzantine sort of period. We're talking like chariot races and Greek fire and like court politics and mechanical, wind up birds and really cool magic. It's great. It's just great. Main character curses a lot, which is always funny. And it's awesome. It's awesome. Saul's story at Hyperion was heartbreakingly beautiful. Yeah, I'm afraid to read it now that I had a little girl. It's super good though. My favorite's The Priest's Tale. That book starts with his best story, which is like my one point against it. It's like, man, you got to work up to that one. It's so good. I'm hoping the success of Dune here in the box office means that Hollywood will consider more science fiction adaptations. Not just for my sake, but just because, well, for my sake as a person. Like I like science fiction. I like science fiction movies. It would be nice to. I know Villeneuve is gonna do Rendezvous with Rama, which visually, holy cow, like that would be awesome if he gets to do that. Hopefully they'll let him do that and then go do Dune 3. Take a little bit of a break. Yeah. Let's see. I recently saw a video that says Dune proves heroes like Tolkien's will never be devalued, but I thought Dune deconstructs and speaks against the existence of true hero. What do you think? I think that Dune does not do that. I think that Frank Herbert says that Dune does this. And this is basically why I don't like the movie, because I think the movie tries to adjust for Frank Herbert's shortcomings in writing Dune itself. And this is like maybe one of my hottest takes. But if you read Dune and you just read Dune, the Atreides are basically an unalloyed good. Duke Leto is like a decent guy. He like loves his family. He cares about his people. He's straight up guy who is betrayed by his liege lord, right, in the Emperor, and is victimized by his jealous rivals, who are portrayed as an unalloyed evil. The Harkonnens are, degenerate. They are grasping, greedy, debauched, all sorts of awful, right? And in cahoots again with the corrupt system, right? Paul is also a initially unwitting puppet in this sort of scheme on the behalf of the Bene Gesserit, right, who run everything, and he escapes their net, right? Which Paul is also more or less portrayed as an essentially decent person, right? From page one, he does not like that the Bene Gesserit are like deciding who is and who isn't a person, right? And he aligns with the oppressed native people of this planet, right? Whose interests happen to more or less align with him completely. Like, he doesn't have to force them or trick them in the book at all, right? And he gets revenge on these horrible people with the help of these people who were exploited, victimized, right? And puts them in a position of power, basically to get revenge on the system that, to turn the empire inside out, basically. And now this comes with, right, a war and effectively a genocide, although it's a war, right, which is a little bit different. It's not like the Fremen are setting up camps. Or if they are, we never see it, because this is a big problem. Is there's a missing book. Frank did not write a book between Dune and Messiah. And I think the reason that a lot of people who read the books, right, get to Messiah and then quit is because they read the first book, and really a lot of that stuff about heroes being dangerous and charismatic leaders being dangerous is not in the text. It's a little bit there, because I think it's in Frank's mind, but when he's like writing the actual story, it's really not there. And this is a book that I've read like 50 times. It's really not there. Now I haven't read it in like 8 years, but it's really not there. And he needs Messiah basically to course correct and to inject this into the series later. And I think that gives so many people whiplash that they say, hey, the sequels, skip them. Don't get it, right? It just doesn't work. And I find it very frustrating in talking about Dune generally, because everybody will say, Dune is this like deconstruction of the hero's myth. And I think this is what Frank Herbert wanted it to be. But I think most of the people who read it don't see it, because I don't think he did a very good job of communicating that in the original book. And so to your question, I think that I don't know what the video was, but I think that to the extent that Dune proves that heroes like Tolkien's will never be devalued, I think it's because people fundamentally don't believe the sort of story that Dune Messiah, Children of Dune tell. And I don't think Frank Herbert does either, because Frank Herbert also wrote God Emperor of Dune. And in God Emperor of Dune, another hero, really, and this is a word I use advisedly, I may be using like the Carlylean sense, like a great figure of history, right, like a Napoleon, in the form of Leto II, is required to save humankind from extinction. Leto II's golden path, right, among other things, right, saves humanity from being exterminated completely. By all sorts of various threats and potential futures that could have happened. So by holding humanity in thrall, basically, Leto navigates them through this narrow way into a future where there is a future at all, right? And so if Frank's going to talk about the danger of charismatic leaders and then requires two of them to save humanity from the galaxy, I don't know that he really believes what he's selling either. And so I don't believe that Dune succeeds in being what Frank Herbert is on old clips on NBC saying that Dune is about. I don't think he wrote the book that he says he wrote. And this fundamentally is like why I wanted to write Sun Eater. Basically. Now I didn't know that when I started writing Sun Eater. I had to sort of work backwards to figure out like what I was trying to say. But it basically was like I have this problem with Dune. Like maybe I'm the only guy, but like because and this is not to say that I think Dune is a bad book or that he's a bad writer or anything like that. I love Frank Herbert. I love Dune, but I think the discourse around it, including Frank's own statements, are not great. I just don't. I just don't think it's there. And I think to the extent the movie tries to bring a lot of the Messiah stuff into Dune, it actually kind of like damages what Dune is in and of itself, which I think is a lot more complicated than even Frank gave it credit for when he's talking about it. And like writers do this all the time, right? They like, they think that they have, they've done something other than what they've done, and we see this all the time. And I think the only metric for really measuring artistic success or failure with regard to any piece is what was the author's intent, and did he or she succeed in that intent, right? This is why T.S. Eliot says Hamlet is a failure, right? Talking about Shakespeare. I can't remember specifically. I need to go reread this because I mention this all the time. But Eliot called Hamlet a dramatic failure. Because it did not communicate what we can reason was the intent, the point of the story. It's not convincing. In the same way that like Paradise Lost, it could be construed as a failure by some because it makes Satan look too good, and that's not John Milton's intention, right? This is what William Blake said, right? He's of the devil's party without knowing it, right? Now I don't think that's necessarily true. I think Blake really wanted to see that because of who William Blake was, but it's understandable that people come away with that reading in the same way that I think it's very understandable that people come away from Dune not picking up what Frank is putting down or thinks he's putting down. Because I didn't notice that as a kid. And I found Dune Messiah really off-putting the first time I read it. But I was like, I don't want to say way more forgiving, but like I just like didn't not finish books when I was a kid. The first book I never finished. I was in ninth grade. I remember that like definitively. I won't say what it is. Yeah. Anyway, that's sort of my. I hope that's like the more sane version of like my ranting about why I did not like so many things about that movie, because I got in a lot of trouble for not liking the new movie on that stream. It really kind of, I guess, upset me. But yeah, no, I think that the heroes will never be devalued because we believe in them, whether or not Frank Herbert wants us to. Anyway, have I played Stellaris? No. That's by the same company that does Crusader Kings, right? I have been like meaning to get into it, but I'm like afraid to. I could see myself spending hundreds of hours that I don't have playing that game. But my father-in-law is a huge Stellaris fan. Huge like Crusader Kings Hearthstone guy. So he's trying to get me into him. Yeah. Will I ever co-write a book? I won't say never, but it's not on my like not on my to-do list. I'm a pretty solitary person, sort of by nature. Do I think there's a bigger conspiracy than Agia's revenge and Heather recording Agia and Book of the New Sun? I don't really think so. No. I mean, unless you count like the extent to which that like Agia like sort of falls into the Vodalist camp sort of by the end of the story, or rather I guess sort of takes it over, and the degree to which that whole stuff's maybe influenced by Erebus and Abaya. But I think as far as Agia's motivation, I don't think we need to look any further than the death of Agilus necessarily. And I certainly don't think with Hathor that we need to look any further than his desire to sleep with Agia. I think that's perfectly powerful enough explanatory motive. I could be wrong. But that's the sort of thing yeah, the sort of thing I'd have to think about for sure. But I don't think it's any deeper than that. D-Side says, "Hey Christopher, I've been reading Empire Science and loving it. A quick question: any advice for currently self-published writers trying to get professionally published?" Yeah. So getting an agent is more or less mandatory if you want to get a traditional publisher contract. I know that houses like Tor and Bain and sometimes Daw will take unsolicited manuscripts. My personal experience has been that almost nobody comes into traditional publishing that way. I don't think a single writer in the 7 years I was at Bain came in through Slush. And that's a long time for it to not happen. And so I would advise you to try and get an agent. And getting an agent is kind of like getting a job. You get rejected a lot. It's like super demoralizing. My advice is very basic. It's like follow the instructions. If they say, "I just want to see your letter, don't send me a writing sample," do not send them a writing sample, because following the bullet points of what they asked for is part of the test. Right? It's like to weed out weirdos, because like they'll get stuff like we used to get submissions in Crayon. We got submissions for books of poetry. We do not publish poetry. Like people just don't read the submissions and they just want to see what's going to happen. And so like don't do that. Just follow the instructions to the letter, with the exception of if they say if you do not hear from me, it's a no. It is not a no. They just deleted your email and they didn't even read it, because they probably got into the office on Monday and they had like 50 emails and they just cleared their inbox because they are not hurting for people trying. So my usual recommendation is, if you do not hear from an agent, now a no is a no, but if you do not hear from an agent, move to the bottom of your list to try again in like 3 months, because the odds are very good that they won't remember you. And you can help them not remember you by changing the title of your book and writing a new pitch letter. And you should be writing a new pitch letter like every half dozen to 10 submissions to an agent anyway. And I wouldn't send more than that out at a time, because if you get a lot of non-replies, something's wrong with your pitch. Maybe your title is bad. Mine was initially. It was not good. Maybe your letter is not good. Maybe it's too long, right? Because you want to be like as short in your pitch letter and as impactful as possible. You want to write really densely and really impactfully. Maybe if they're looking at writing samples, maybe the prologue, maybe the prologue sucks. Maybe chapter 1 needs to be rewritten. Maybe you need to do something like get rid of a frame narrative. I got rid of a frame narrative. And as soon as I did, my odds started improving. But you don't want to send out 100 emails to every agent there is, right? And then like have emptied your clip before you realize that you were firing flags, right? You want to make sure that you're taking aim as precisely as possible. Read the agent's bios, see what they're looking for, and if you can find a way to couch what you are writing as what they are looking for without it being a lie, but like sort of retool the letter that you're writing to make it more personalized, that's great. It shows that you're paying attention. Yeah, so like good luck, and don't get discouraged. I was rejected 51 times, so, and that's a low number by some accounts. So yeah, Godspeed. So don't read sci-fi. Read other genres. I assume. I don't read a lot of fiction when I'm working, and lately I've been working kind of all the time. I read a lot of nonfiction. I read a lot of history, mostly. Right now I'm not really reading anything. Things have just been like all book 7 all the time. Time has been really tight. But yeah, no, I like very consciously like try, unless it's for work, like someone asked me to do a blurb, not to read fiction while I'm working. Favorite Studio Ghibli movie? Princess Mononoke. Yeah. For sure. I also love Spirited Away. I love Nausicaa's great. I want to see The Boy and the Heron because it looks awesome. But yeah, no, Princess Mononoke for sure. If humans colonized another planet in your lifetime, would you be interested in visiting? Visiting 100%. Living there is 0. I would love to go. I think it'd be cool. In the same way that like there are like places all over the world that I would love to go see, but I wouldn't want to like stay in. I wouldn't want to like figure out. I'm like very much a hobbit, right? Like I don't want to, which is totally a joke about my height. Thank you, Zen. But the health risks incurred by living somewhere like Mars no, thank you. Talking of favorites, what's my favorite Tim Powers novel? The Stress of Her Regard is awesome. So great. I like vampires. It's just like they're so rarely done to my taste, and Tim is a genius. Bradley Cooper wants to do Hyperion. Yeah, 100%. Denis should do Hyperion. I think somebody else should, honestly. I think we can't just be relying on Denis and Chris Nolan, right? I think that like we need to figure out who like we need like another director. Like just the fact that we have like so few that we like would trust with high concept stuff is really discouraging. I keep getting frustrated with Rupert Sanders. I realize he's directing the Crow remake, and this is the man who did the Ghost in the Shell live action movie. And it's like, why do you keep picking things that are going to bother people? Stop it. Because like visually, I think he's quite a talented director. I've lost all faith in Zack Snyder. Rebel Moon was so discouraging. Anyway. Yeah, no, Crucifixion, Priest Tale's so good. Priest Tale's so good. Someone said earlier, it might have been you in the chat, that I would rather no adaptation than a bad one. I would rather not make money than ruin my reputation. 100%. Yeah. Let's see. Just got your developmental edits back on your debut novel. Congratulations. That's awesome. That's awesome. If AI actually replaces a ton of jobs in the near future, what effect do you think it would have on our society besides large scale homelessness? So I don't know about large scale homelessness. I think the effects would be more pernicious. I think we would end up with some sort of UBI scheme, which would lead to sort of a widespread loss of purpose for a lot of people, which would have a lot of secondary health impacts. I think suicide would get worse. I think opioid addiction would get substantially worse, which means crime would get a lot worse. People need meaning. People need to do something with their lives. Now I get that something being maybe working for McDonald's or something not being very spiritually meaningful. But like you can't do nothing actually. It makes people sick. And I think that I think that relying on machines to solve our problems will only make our problems worse and introduce us to new problems. And so I don't think that's good. I think we need civilization should be ordered toward the flourishing of the people that it protects. Right? Like this is that's my whole political philosophy. Whatever that means is something we can have a conversation about. But the civilization should serve its constituents. That doesn't mean it needs to be necessarily one thing or another, but and to the extent that we're using robots to do whatever, it's not helping the people who can't do whatever anymore. And I find it particularly disturbing, obviously for selfish reasons, that one of the things that's getting replaced fastest is creative jobs. Because those are the jobs people want to do, right? They want to write music, they want to write books, they want to do paintings, they want to dance. Well, maybe not dancing, although Boston Dynamics will get there, I'm sure. And replacing those jobs, I think, will deprive people of hope in a really serious way, and so that concerns me. Smash the machines wherever you find them. I know I'm saying that online. I'm not unaware of the irony. But I tried pretty hard to not be online very much, day to day. Let's see. Yeah, even in Messiah, we don't see Paul being a charismatic. I just don't know that Frank had it in him to write a monster. I just don't know that he could do it. It is uncomfortable. And I'm not saying Hadrian is, but when I have, it's not fun. Do I have my own version of a lightsaber? Yes, I improved the lightsaber. It is not a laser sword. But yes, no, I'm a big lightsaber guy. I people always make fun of lightsabers because why does the beam stop, right? And it's supposed to be plasma or whatever. So I really thought about what can we do that would would like make lightsabers work more, and like how would that impact fighting technique and stuff? Because I have a bit of a fencing background, and so I wanted to think about like, oh, I don't need any force to cut with this. Like, how do I change fighting? I thought about that pretty hard, more than I thought about like how does this blade exist. I was more interested in technique and stuff like that. Did I miss any stories about the Lord of Devil's Rest? You mean Alistair himself? There isn't an Alistair POV story yet. I'd like to do one at some point, but we'll see. Can I expand on how a bloodline can be elevated to Palatine? How older bloodlines are able to live longer? Well, it's the second question first. So it's not exactly that older bloodlines are able to live longer. It's that the more powerful ones at whatever point in time are rewarded differentially with better genetic complexes, right? Gene complexes. And so you get elevated to Palatine status in the first place as like a reward for merit, right? This is the thing about like aristocracy that people like forget, right? It's the first generation of aristocrats like actually did something that like merited that position in some way, right? Right? Aristocracy literally in Greek, right, is ruled by the best, right? Now, obviously, the best leave something to their kids, and then if their kids are okay, maybe their grandkids certainly aren't, right? And so things get bad. But like let's say you're a war hero, right? You win the grass crown. You're like a you're like a peasant lieutenant or something. Maybe what you did was enough to get you made patrician, right? But maybe if you're patrician, then they'll make you palatine, right? Maybe you could go directly. Maybe that's happened, right? I've thrown a lot of like historical figure names around and like not written stories for them at all. So like maybe one of those guys is something like this happened to, right? And so you get promoted for some sort of service, some sort of exceptional feat or something like that. Probably military service, but not necessarily. It could have been a scientific discovery. It could have been a discovery. It could have been, I don't know, saving the emperor, right? Who knows? And you get rewarded for it in the same way that like Jean Louis gets rewarded for helping Crispin in The Lesser Devil, right? And but like you can go far enough eventually that you get rewarded enough to being Palatine. And if you're an older family, you can amass power over time. When your children are designed, you can afford through clout or through money or leverage or something better genes for your children. And in the case of House Marlowe, they've like far fallen from their political powers, but they are still inheriting gene complexes from an older time when their family was more important. Because they were a very old family. They are a very old family. They've been around since the beginning. It's just that they've fallen out of sort of political power, but what they have is still paritable because they haven't done anything to get it taken away. The emperor controls the imperial office, I should say, controls the Palatine House's ability to reproduce because if they try naturally or they try to bootleg a child in some way, the odds that child will end up genetically damaged or teratogenically damaged in some way are pretty high because the Palatine genomes are so over designed. They basically have like key locks in them. And so how this works in terms of like actual genetic science is above my pay grade, but like conceptually you can imagine this, how this works. And so the emperor can punish a house by denying their request to have children, but it can deny them too by just disinheriting a gene complex and like, oh, you were expecting to live X long, but now you're going to live like 0.75X actually. Your children will live less than something. Yeah. Um, uh, I didn't see you there. Falling outside the normal moral constraint says, "Cheers to Ruocchio, the second best space opera author." Thanks, buddy. I love you too. Thoughts on the OC Bible? I agree. I think it seems weird at the time. I thought it was kind of cool, but I like don't know how something like that would happen. But like you see a lot of this, the science fiction of the period. I can never remember the Clark story that has Chrislam in it. And like it's just stuff like that was like a thing people did. This, um, I don't know. I don't know. Obviously, like I'm the Sid Arthur guy, but that was supposed to be a joke, and now it's gone too far. It's gone too far. Um, let's see. What order would I rank all the Dune books in? I've only read two God Emperor, but for me, yeah. So God Emperor is number one for me, then Dune, then Children, then Messiah, then Heretics, then Chapter House. Yeah, no. I love God Emperor Dune. I think it's a masterpiece. Was Sun Eater intended as a 7-book series? No, it was 4. God help me. It's really gotten away from me. Am I gonna play Dragon's Dogma 2? I would love to. I hope I'll get a chance. Yeah, no, I would love to. I kind of like the first one, but I don't think I finished it. But this one looks like it might have addressed some of the things that like bothered me about the first one. I'm pretty. I mean, I'm certainly interested in it. I love your examination of Dune, and I also got in a lot of trouble with friends over the new movie. Damn the Romans! Yes, damn the Romans. So good. Diamond Edition update. Yeah, okay. So I mentioned this earlier, but I will repeat it, of course. The Diamond Editions, we got a date today from the printer. They should be finished. I think they said it was the 12th or the 13th of next month. Not only we're using the same printer as Brandon Sanderson, but we're using the same paper, and he ate all the paper, so we had to wait for more paper to exist. That's what happened, which is extremely frustrating. But we have a date now, thank heavens, so that's good. No one is more frustrated at these delays than I am. But yeah, so they will be here then. I'm hoping that they can give me measurements for the slipcases now because it'll be finished printing by then. If even one book exists, maybe they can tell me so I can get a drop on the slipcase production. But we'll see. Let's see. So yeah, I'm really sorry. The posters are printed. My my brother works at the shop that did the printing, and he said they just got to get them cut and sent to me. So it should be soon. Don't play PDX games if you value your time. Yeah, I would love to. I even played I haven't played Civ 6 in a long time. I haven't played since they started adding all the new leaders, and I think they're done doing that now. So gonna read Book of the New Sun after my senior level Shakespeare class. Well, enjoy that. I love my Shakespeare classes. Irish Knight, welcome back. Question for you: is there any sci-fi comics out there similar to Terminator or RoboCop, looking for killer robots, heavy crime books? I don't know about comics, so I don't read a lot of comics, honestly. If anybody's got a suggestion here for old Irish Knight, drop them in the chat. Is my main character modeled after Alexander the Great? In part, there's some Alexander in him. There's a lot of Lord Byron in him. There's a little T.E. Lawrence in there. And that's just like those are the real ones. Have I given up on Star Wars? More or less, yeah. I'm not gonna watch The Acolyte. I don't plan on it unless I'm like really bored. It was nice. I saw the trailer. It was nice to see Trinity, but I increasingly streaming just like feels like a place where art just goes to die. I don't know. Is Disquiet Gods the last Sun Eater book? No, there will be one more. There's one more. There's 7 books. Favorite Asimov? The Last Question. I'm not like a huge Asimov guy, but I love The Last Question. One can perhaps see how that was an influence on me. Have I ever read Terry Pratchett? No, I have not. I just haven't had the chance. Discworld looks fun. Good Omens looks very off-putting. I'm still laughing about them having killed off Pestilence as one of the 4 horsemen in a book that came out in like 2019. How did that work out? Very funny. But no, I haven't read any Pratchett. Bought Threats of Her Regard yesterday. Excellent. It's so good. So good. We don't talk about the Crow remake. No, we do not. No, I like I like which Skarsgård is it? I like him, I like Rupert Sanders. I just like stop picking movies that can bother people. It's not great. Not a great move. Yeah, I think that's maybe optimistic about UBI, Callum. Uh, I, I hope you're right, but I'm not so sure. Oh, hey, Matt. Thanks for recommending Young Miles via Belemry's. Got it done. It was delightful. Up next is King of the Death. Well, good luck. Good luck to you on that one. And yeah, man, Miles is so good. Just Lois is a delight. People who've read both compare her like to Robin Hobb in a lot of ways. I haven't read Robin Hobb, but I've like gotten this comparison a lot. So if anybody is a Hobb fan, like Lois is like one of the best character writers just in science fiction. I just think she's a very good sense of what makes people human. Her characters are just all just so well realized, so delightful. And those books are all just so good. Mirror Dance is my favorite one. You have to get there. It's like in the middle of the series, but it is it's so good. How about expanding the map or the lore via a wiki? I know some readers are putting together a wiki, and I've tried to facilitate that as much as I can, but I am not going to do it. I don't. I know there's the lore page on the website, but I have not had a chance to really do anything with it. I should at least post the map. As far as expanding it is concerned, yeah, I'd like to do another map at some point, but this one will do for now. I do need to read Hide Me Among the Graves. That's probably my next powers. I should reread Stress of Her Regard, and then I should read Hide Me Among the Graves. That's the thing I should do. Yeah, let's see. How many different kinds of blade styles are there for Highlander swords? You can make all sorts of shapes if you want to. There's not really a reason to like make a curved sword if you can already cut without any effort, because of course the curved sword curves to allow for the greater length, right? And this is useful in cutting motions, right? This is one of the reasons why you see curved swords in warmer climate places, is because you're not contending with plate. Um, and so yeah, but you know, uh, yeah, but no, you could program them in any sort of shape. You may see more of that in the future. We'll say. Coffee. Why do Roman and British empires do so well in space opera? There's so many of them; it could be its own genre. Yeah, I don't really know. I think it's because those civilizations, we owe a lot to those civilizations, the Romans in particular, in terms of establishing the foundation blocks of our own. And I think that it's sort of a nostalgia for antiquity that really informs everything there more than anything else. How do I pronounce Cielson? Cielson is how I say it. It's actually not how I said it originally. I said, what did I say? I was saying like I think I was saying Kielchin originally, and like nobody in my fiction writing class in college said it that way, so I gave up. So there's a joke somewhere where the humans all say Cielson, and the Cielson use hard consonant sounds, which is a little bit of a nod to this experience of mine. Um, let's see. Look, AI has applications. I would never I would never say, ban hammers because, they should be, because they just shouldn't exist, right? But it is disturbing the uses that we put technology to, right? Like you can use a hammer to kill somebody, or you can build a house. Building houses is great. Killing people, not so much, right? And this is obviously a very simple analogy for like the broader problem, but um, I see a lot of potential for harm with AI, and people say, well, we got through all this other stuff, okay, but like we just got the internet. Like I almost can remember not having it, and now we're moving into, they're not really AI, right? They're not sentient in the way that a science fiction fan would understand AI, but they're smart enough in particular ways, and things are moving very fast, and we as a species have not adjusted for the changes we've already implemented. Like we have no idea really as a species how to raise children with the internet. Um, we just don't. And it's not clear to me that we're doing a good job. This is something I've obviously been thinking about a lot. And you know, as things continue to accelerate in these directions. I don't believe they'll accelerate forever. I'm not a singularity guy. I think Ray Kurzweil is smoking something, but things are still in certain ways accelerating, and you know, we will pay the price for our hubris, right, as our reach continues to exceed our grasp, I think. But other things will go very well, and certain people will do very well by these innovations, certainly. But I think it will also have consequences that we don't intend and don't desire. Whoops, that question is not the one I'm answering. Anyway, what's my opinion on scientists trying to make it so we can pick our genes for our kids? Yeah, I do not like it. We should not be doing that. The long-term societal consequences are not pleasant. Consider the deep class divide in the Solid Empire for one example of how it could go terribly wrong. Yeah, I agree with you. The ending of Olympus is a little bit does fall a little bit flat. I know Simmons wanted to write another duology at one point. I don't know if that um will ever happen. You know, I would love for him to go write. He wanted to write like an Odysseid that was about Odysseus and Sycorax and stuff, and I think that would be super neat. And like maybe it would clarify some of the points in the ending because I remember being like, I think Olympus was like a solid 12 for me, like right up until the end, and I remember also feeling a little bit let down. It's not that like zombies went against my philosophy. I don't think it said I don't like them. I don't remember what point you're like. I don't remember what point you're referring to. I certainly don't like zombie stories very much. Um, but I would need to know what I said at one point to be more specific. Um, is Siddhartha based on Siddhartha in Buddhist the Buddhist tradition? In part, yes. There's obviously a little bit of a silly pun, but there are a lot of like little like story resonances that I thought I could make between Arthur and Buddha and sort of so the Siddhartharian religion is like a variant of Buddhism that believes that King Arthur was a bodhisattva, right? Like a Buddha. Not literally the same guy exactly, but that there was sort of a recursion in a lot of ways. And I just thought that would be interesting and weird. And I thought it was a silly pun at first, right? Like they got confused about the name. And then it sort of became a bigger part of the story. And some people think it's like, you know, people really like it. So I'm sort of stuck with it now. And I thought initially it was like a silly joke. Vinny says, hi, just got me to join now. Would like to ask, not sure it's been addressed. Will the Bane paperbacks of book 6 be closely matched to the size of the doll books? I don't honestly know. Bane's paperbacks are usually a different size. This might be somewhere they can do something, but that's going to be up to them ultimately. So I haven't, I've spoken to them about it, but I don't know what they're going to do. It's possible for publishers to do different trim sizes, but it's kind of unreasonable for me as an author to ask them to change their standard hardcover size or their standard paperback size. My instinct might be that they'll be a different size. I mean, that happened with the hardcover, but that we're doing our best here. But a lot could change in the next year. Who knows? We ever see Sabine Marlowe in the series? Maybe. KB, welcome. Elden Ring DLC, yes, 100%. That's like the next thing I'm really getting into. I'm replaying in preparation for that. I'm doing like a Black Flame Pyromancer build with the cross Naginata, you know, the whole poke for bleed, Black Flame kind of thing. It's been fun. It's been fun. Yeah, I'm thinking the Latro books will be like my next Gene Wolfe thing. Let's see. Gotcha on the Sid Arthurian stuff. Hello, do I think Sun Eater is a good entry point for sci-fi for someone who's never read any sci-fi? Yeah, I think so. Like, especially if you're coming from fantasy in particular, it's written. I wrote it very consciously in the style of a fantasy. So it reads more like a fantasy book, but it's not very like it's not very tech heavy. It's not a very hard science book. I think if you're coming from fantasy, you'd be pretty comfortable. Um, uh, Completely caught up. Can't wait for Disquiet Gods. Not long to wait. They do exist. I'll show everybody again. They are right here, or one is right here. I should say. Whoops. I'm really bad at the like reverse camera thing, man. I tell you, it's tough. Um, so the spine is close, by the way, but some of the elements don't quite align. So I know I'm going to hear about that. You guys don't have to send me pictures. I love you. But I know we did our best. Who's my favorite From Software boss or boss soundtrack? Best soundtrack is the Ludwig stuff from the Bloodborne DLC. Like full stop, great. But as far as like favorite boss to fight, man, that's a good question. Because I like Artorias a lot from in Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 2 is tough. I don't really know. Mirror Knight was fun. Especially like when the gimmick like actually worked. Dark Souls 3, Nameless King, but like I hate that guy. My favorite Bloodborne boss is honestly probably just cleric beast like right at the beginning. I like went in and just beat him. Like I didn't have a problem, and I was like, finally, I understand. I'm good at From Software games finally, and I had like a really easy time playing Bloodborne up until I got to the Shadows of Yharnam, and then I just died, and I like the magic was gone. I think I died like maybe 5 times before I got to the Shadows. I was like having the best time. I like finally understood how to play these damn games. And then that boss just like broke the magic, and I've never recovered it. As far as Elden Ring, favorite boss is Radon. I think Radon is probably my favorite boss they've done overall. I did not play Sekiro. I was not really in a gaming mood when it came out, and I haven't gone back yet. But I think Radon is my favorite. I beat Radon before they nerfed him, so I can claim that victory for myself. So that was just is so cool, and like from a storytelling perspective, he's so cool too. Tim Powers is so good. More Tim Powers love in the chat. There is a map. There's a map. It's going in. Actually, it's right here. There's a map. It's in Disquiet Gods. It'll be in book 7. It is in the Diamond Editions, which is what it was made for. But Bane was like, "Hey, can we have the map?" And I was like, "Sure." How would I rank Book of the New Sun reading wise? I just bought it, but everyone talks about how hard it is to read. Okay, Book of the New Sun is not hard to read. You can read it. Like there are some words that like you might not know, but like that's part of the experience. That's fun. What you won't do is understand everything that's happening until you like read the book a second time or you like read a podcast about it. It's not hard to read on a surface level. It is a fun like sword and sorcery adventure. Only sometimes there are laser guns and aliens and robots. It is, but like to really understand how all the little pieces are fitting together, you could benefit from rereading it. It is a book that you sort of can grow in your relationship with over time. As far as reading wise, Book of the New Sun is for me second only to Lord of the Rings, and everybody knows that I absolutely adore Lord of the Rings. I think Book of the New Sun is the best science fiction series ever written. I think Gene Wolfe is the best science fiction writer, period. Like in terms of ability. I think he's absolute genius. It's certainly not for everybody, but I love it. I know Elise doesn't like it that much. The first book is a little bit slower. I like will fully acknowledge it is the least interesting of the 5. Really there are 4, but the 5th one is like sort of an add-on. It's like Ninja Turtles. But I like the 5th book a lot too. It's just that yeah, no, I would I don't get scared. You'll be fine. I strongly recommend if you are confused, the Owl's About Soup podcast is great for explaining like what is going on and like why is that happening without really getting into the symbolism and the thematizing and stuff like that. But it's fine. Like there are giants, there are robots, there are sword fights. There's spooky torturers. There are aliens that can see the future. There's necromancy. It's great. You'll have a good time. And if you don't, I apologize. Any thoughts on Percy Jackson live action show or Netflix's Avatar? I haven't seen either of them. I don't see the point in like remaking Avatar. Like it's already a show. Like what are they gonna do? Like make it shorter and like worse in the hopes of like getting a broad audience of people who don't watch cartoons anyway? I don't know. It seems like a strange thing to me to do that. It's already a masterpiece. Don't mess with it. As far as Percy Jackson, I've like never read those or anything, so I don't have an opinion. Um, would the salesman ever consider using ranged weaponry? Um, it's not that they do, right? They use the Nocte, right? And they have guns on their ships. It's just that because they come from a more primitive background, but they come from a civilization that's like completely dependent on ships that they wouldn't use firearms like in those environments. It's just not because they don't have um the technology is not as good, let's just say. So the risk of problems much higher. Um, is Terminator 1 an action movie or a horror movie? Seems like it could be a slasher. Well, it like is though, right? It's sort of in the same vein as like Alien versus Aliens, right? Like the second one sort of undergoes this genre change. Um, but man, I haven't watched Terminator 1 in a long time. Do I receive physical letters? Very occasionally, but I have gotten a few. It is always nice. It's kind of cool. Yeah, YouTube is man. I'm part of the problem here tonight, but YouTube is yes, big time sync. I'm thinking about like blocking it on my phone. Oh, when I imagine Hadrian's fight scenes, do I imagine music? I do not. I don't usually do music when I'm writing. I do have sound canceling headphones, but it's usually to cancel the sound these days because there's construction across the street during the day, and it annoys me. But no, I don't usually listen to work to music when I'm working because I talk out loud a lot, and especially if the music has words, it prevents me from thinking out loud, which is not great. Um, um, purchase the Conan Del Rey edition. It's nice. Conan's so good. It's an interesting question about the like second flood in Book of the New Sun. I don't really have a good answer for you there. I would think the short answer is like probably yes, except that the universe of Book of the New Sun is not precisely ours, right? It's sort of a new rotation of like the cosmic cycle in sort of a Neoplatonic sense, right? So like maybe in their version, when the initial like flood event happened in sort of in Genesis, whatever happened that was an equivalent in Severian's universe wasn't exactly the same thing, and so the flood occurring in at the end of time in Book of the New Sun is sort of a like history repeating itself across universal sort of cycles, but not within the universal cycle. That would be like my best guess off the top of my head, but like I don't know for sure. Brendan, welcome back. Did Hadrian make any attempts to inquire after Genon while he was on Jad? Maybe, but whether or not he got an answer is a different question. Hadrian isn't saying everything about Jad, that's for sure. Dragon's Dogma 2, yeah, maybe. I would like to. But yeah, I'm stuck on. I'm really only playing Elden Ring at the moment. Since I've had my daughter, I've started like 4 games and I haven't finished any of them. I was playing Tears of the Kingdom at the time where she was born. I never finished it. I got through most of Mario Wonder. I'm pretty close to finishing it, and I haven't. I like the old classic first party Nintendo games a lot. They're like still consistently high quality. Tears of the Kingdom was kind of a letdown, frankly, but it was still super fun to play. Um, but then I was replaying Golden Sun, which is one of my favorite games of all time. I got about halfway through and stopped, And yeah, now I'm playing Elden Ring, which I'm hoping I will catch up on. We're hoping I'll catch up on by June 20th. I'm sure I will. Maria is very good in Bloodborne. Agree. Sam, that's interesting. You found reading it in prose easier than the audiobook. That's cool. Usually it's the other way around. Lorena, can I show the sign of Sunday? Yes. So assuming this light above my head is the sun, right? You make like an okay sign loop, right? And you hold it up to whatever sun you have, and then you bring the loop to your forehead, to your heart, and then you kiss the loop, and then back to the sun. If there is no sun available, simply lifting it will do. Steve says, finished his Quiet Gods. My favorite so far. Thank you, sir. Yeah, Radon is so good. Which From Software game should you play first? It sort of depends. Like, if you are averse to like older mechanics, then just play Elden Ring. It's the most refined of the format in a lot of ways. The open worldness of it, I think works. It sort of changes the formula, obviously. It does kind of dilute, I think, a certain element of the experience, because with like Dark Souls 1 in particular, the level building, with the exception of one place, everybody knows where, is really great. Sort of the vertical stackedness of all the level design. The whole world is so well woven together. But I would either play Elden Ring or play Dark Souls 1. You can't play Bloodborne without a PS4, which is unfortunate because Bloodborne is amazing. But I would play either Elden Ring or Dark Souls 1. I don't see much sense in playing Dark Souls 2 or 3 without playing 1, not because like they're all completely unconnected, really. But I think maybe if you're unused to like the narrative style, I think Elden Ring maybe gives you a little bit more in terms of story than Dark Souls does. But it is perhaps alienating to experience a story in this format if you're not used to it, maybe. But I would maybe just start with Elden Ring. That's what's going on right now too. So if you're playing on PC, there'll be like more players, and they will. So if you're playing multiplayer, like you'll have a better chance of getting someone to help you, which is good, or unhelp you depending. But I think maybe that might be the right way to go. Watching Dune 2 for the 11th time. I want to go back and see it again. I've been hard on it. I would like to go see it at least one more time while it's in theaters. Because like, look, I didn't hate it. I was enjoying it, like, most of the way through. But I just the ending really crystallized a lot of my like quiet issues. Would I ever do a read along a Book of the Sun in more depth? I like Owls of a Soup, but I want more of a philosophical or theological theme they don't cover. So what I'd recommend so I probably won't. Just because it's like that or right. So unless I like decide to take like a year off or something and do something different, like I don't think I would do something like that. Probably. The Rereading Wolf podcast is great. But there's a guy called Mark Aramini, Aramini, who's like a Wolf scholar, and he's a lot more interested in symbolism. He's got some books out on all of Wolf's work. You can on Amazon. I forget. It's like Beyond Light and Shadow, I think is what one of them is called. But they all have names that are structured like that. But they're 3 volumes of Wolf criticism. They're not expensive. They're not like buying a textbook or anything. And Mark, I know Mark. He's my favorite Wolf scholar. He's a great guy, but he like really understands the books sort of thematically. I disagree with him in a couple places, but he also like knows a lot more than I do, so maybe I'm wrong. But I like Mark a lot. Do I have any input in the audiobook character voices? I do not. I just let them do their own thing. Did I see that Broken Binding is doing a sci-fi subscription series now? So if this is about them screenshotting and saying they're working on Sun Eater, I have not spoken to them. I don't have any information on that at all. So I don't know what's going on yet. I know they've got like the whole subscription thingy, but as far as doing a Sun Eater thing, um, I don't know. I don't know. Um, despite my beef with Dune 2, how would I rank Timothée Chalamet's portrayal of Paul? I think he's great. I think he's great. Um, I still like. I still think I like Kyle the best. Just just because I like Kyle so much. But I think Timothy's probably um sort of more true, especially in part one. I think he's very very true to the text, and maybe more so than the other ones. I watched Invincible. I have not. I'm not a huge superhero guy. Um, boo. They keep doing remakes because it's easy and reliable money. Is Hadrian an unreliable narrator? Yes, but like not in the way that that people the people think. Um, he isn't lying to like lie to the reader and like pull one over on you. He is mostly just a person who has a limited point of view and you know, doesn't always understand everything or everyone that's around him. And so his reports are not accurate, even if his intentions are true. Um, Fair point from Galahad. God does not flood the world in New Sun. It's aliens and humans that do it. Although the aliens are kind of angels, so it's kind of a gray area. But um, you know, yeah. Uh, let's see. How did I begin world building for Sun Eater? That's a good question. I don't have a like a clear memory of starting. Um, I just I think I started with a map. Maybe this would have been like in high school, so it's been a long time. I tried to do like a galaxy map and like make up like, oh, these people live over here. This is like it's like completely inaccurate at this point, but it does not resemble the one I just showed everybody from the book at all. And this one is, I realized like after it was done, like slightly wrong because Tavros is not in the constellation Taurus at all, and it should be. So good job, me. But it's like very hard to get that information. But I think, whoops. So I think that Taurus should actually be something like down here. So it's like off by like several degrees. So good job, me. But that won't really matter. So it'll be fine. We'll update it some other time. So I have that haunting me now. But I think it was with a map initially. I used to, when I was doing fantasy stuff, I wanted to do fantasy initially. I was doing maps all the time. I used to draw maps obsessively when I was in grade school. And so sort of grew from there. Do you have a favorite King Arthur movie? So it's like not remotely like close to the source material in any meaningful way. But I really like the Sam Neill Merlin. It was a miniseries originally. It's got Rutger Hauer as Vortigern. Lena Headey's in it. She's like 20. She's Guinevere. And Helena Bonham Carter is Morgan. It's cast is super good. It takes like a lot of it, like they make up a whole villain, or rather they sort of import Queen Mab into the Arthurian canon. But like Martin Short's in it. It's he plays like a evil like evil elf basically. It's great. It's very fun. It's not faithful to the sort of canon, but it's great. Playing Magic the Gathering. I used to. It used to back in high school, but I haven't in a long time. When I started waiting tables, I like couldn't go to Friday Night Magic anymore and save my wallet the hardship. Yeah, Tears of the Kingdom was really Tears of the Kingdom was disappointing narratively. I've been spoiled on From Software stuff, but it was really obvious that like Nintendo didn't really care about the lore in terms of world building and all. Like items were just placed wherever they wanted, and like a lot of stuff just didn't mean anything. And that was kind of a big letdown. It was like super fun to play. The main story was an improvement on Breath of the Wilds in like every way, basically. Um, but it like the dungeons were much better. They were not up to par They weren't like Wind Waker good or Majora's Mask good, but I had a great time. But it's not a top 5 Zelda game for me. But neither is Breath of the Wild. I don't really. I'm like an orthodox Zelda fan. I know I'm like a dying breed at this point because so many more people played the Switch games than played the earlier games. Like it's silly. Like how many like most Zelda fans are fans of those games and like not any of the other ones at this point. And so I feel like I've been pushed out of my own house in a lot of ways because you've got like Eiji Aonuma being like, yeah, why would we ever go back and make like old school Zelda games again? Don't you want more freedom? I'm like, no, I wanted like really tightly designed worlds and dungeons. Thank you. Not not this. But having played these two, I like them both. I love all the Sky stuff. I think it was fun. But I'm still a Wind Waker #1 kind of guy. I love the Wind Waker, such a masterpiece. I have not played the Demon Souls remake. I understand that it's not like there's some like persnickety. I can't remember what they were, but like some persnickety like purists, like Demon Souls originalists who like don't like the remake for certain reasons that seemed compelling to me at the time. So but I haven't played it. I like Demon Souls a lot, but I like Dark Souls better. The like limited amount of full heals in the game. I can't remember what the item is called. Always stressed me out. So I've only played Demon Souls once. I played Dark Souls like maybe 10 or 12 times. The sequels, like I played Dark Souls 3 once. I don't like Dark Souls 3 that much. But the first one's so good. Do I feel like the movie more if I didn't already know the source material so well? Yeah, probably. That's probably it because I basically feel like they turned the knobs on the text up really, really high in certain places to try and hit specific themes at the cost of like other aspects of Dune. Tor Aramini, yes, yeah, Mark Aramini makes an appearance in Demon White, sort of. Have I read older works like Beowulf or Journey to the West? Yes, I have a Western classics background, actually, mostly Greek stuff. My Greek is terrible, but like I have a pretty strong grounding in Sophocles, Aeschylus, etc. And like some of the Roman stuff too. The Greek stuff's better. I hate to say that as an Italian, but it's true. But like between that and like the like Elizabethan and Romantics, like the English tradition, of a pretty strong classics surroundings. Well, I love that stuff. I'm really hoping. I saw that some guys got some funding to do There's a good use for AI. Is they're laser scanning the Herculaneum scrolls, which are turned to carbon, and you can't open them, but you can X-ray them, and you can read them. But they're using AI to like help boost the clarity on the text recall. And the first, the sample they did was a scroll that we've never seen before. It was like an Epicurean philosophy textbook, which is like mostly useless. Get out of here, Epicurus. But like hopefully there are like 1,000, 1,200 scrolls in this collection that we're now able to read. I'm like really, really hoping that we get a missing get one of those missing Sophocles plays. I would literally cry if we got one. I would lose my mind, and it would be really funny if Sophocles had a new book come out before some other people. But I would be so delighted if we got even a fragment. What's my favorite part of writing Hadrian's development? He's getting a lot less compromising, which is kind of fun to write. Oh, chat jumped. Does Hadrian have a better memory than normal thanks to Gibson? Really, thanks to his genetic inheritance. But yes, he does. It's also probably the case that he's inventing a lot of little details, like what a table looked like or something. But he's not Severian. He doesn't have he's not Valko for that matter. He does not have perfect recall, and he's pretty honest about that. Handle a couple questions at once. Am I as big a scholar of the classics as Hadrian is? I've not as much time to read as much as Hadrian has, but I love that stuff for sure. Elise is reminding me that I need to pack it in because it's been 2 hours, and she is trying to protect my ability to write tomorrow. So I will take. Thank you, Elise. God bless you. I'll take a couple more questions and then move on. Who are the precursors of the Durantines? They are one of many Slavic civilizations. I just finished Dregs and Other Stories. I want to say I really loved The Archanaut in particular. I would love some more short stories in that wheelhouse. The Archanaut is one of the stories I would love to turn actually into a novel, frankly, and sort of take that concept further. Blaspheming against the new Zelda game, are we? No, just speaking the truth. I have a very orthodox opinion here, and that is that Wind Waker is better. So is Majora's Mask. Fight me. Don't get me wrong. I like the new games. They're just, they're not the story isn't all there. Like there could be more. I was very disappointed that Ganondorf was just in the same place again. Come on, like put him somewhere else. I wanted to like have to find him. As soon as I figured out where he was, my like and it was like so obvious. My desire to keep playing was suffered. I did not get the controversial popcorn cup. I did not go to IMAX either. IMAX is downtown, and my car is too big to go downtown. It does not. Parking is a pain in the neck. Okay, I'll do 2 more questions and then we will go. Sayamara says, I love how Hadrian changes as the story goes. Do I plan the major beats of the story and how it should change it? Yeah, totally. I'm like a pretty rigorous outliner, but like because of the time gaps between almost every book, I sort of think about Hadrian as like a new character with each book, basically, right? So I'm like, where are we now? Who is he now? And like, where are we going? Basically, with each new book, I sort of reconsider the question. And last, Twilight Princess, of course, also great. How did I miss that? I like narratively, I love Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword is like the anti Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. It's like gameplay lame, story excellent. Last question. What was my job before I became a full-time author? So I worked for Bain Books, actually, which is why they saved me. I was mostly did marketing for them. I was called an editor, but editor often means guy who works in publishing. So I did that for 7 years. Before that, I interned for them, and I was a waiter. I waited tables at an Italian restaurant here in Raleigh called Casa Carbone. It is still there. It is wonderful. If you are in town, you should go. I am going to go soon, actually. Got a family dinner there. They've been around here since like the 50s, and they're an institution, and you should go if you're in Raleigh ever. I love that place. Anyway, all right, you all have a wonderful evening. I'll be back very, very soon because, of course, on the 2nd, Disquiet Gods is out. So if you want to read it before the 2nd, you can, of course, get the early access e-arc at the link in the description. Then you can read it before. Then you can pre-order a signed copy from Quail Ridge Books. Just fill out the comment section on their checkout page saying you want me to sign it. They'll hold it, and I will sign it for you. I'm going to try to go in before my signing on the 4th. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, so I will try to get them to you as soon as I can, but it may be that you won't have them on release date if you order a signed book. But yeah, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, Godspeed.